Hello and good afternoon, and welcome to Noonday Meditation and Contemplative Prayer Power Hour, where we have been gathering in this virtual sanctuary almost every weekday from noon until 1 o'clock to love and support each other through the crisis of the pandemic. My name is Martin Cowart. I am a I forgot what I am. I'm a spiritual teacher. I'm a prosperity and mindset coach working largely with gay, transgender, and bisexual men. And today we're having a broadcast to talk about the power of having what it takes to be an optimist. We all can be optimists, but we all have times when we don't feel like being optimists. But in order for us to run our businesses and be successful and live lives of joy and excitement, we need to develop a positive mindset. And that's what an optimist does. An optimist is no different than you or I. We face than anybody else. We face all the same challenges, all the same obstacles, all the same worries that any other human being does, but we make a choice. We make a choice. We can stay stuck in our despair and our negative view of the world, or we can have the courage to challenge that projection into the future. So before we get too carried away with this, I want to invite anybody who's watching today or watching the replay to please make your comments in the section of the in the comment section of the broadcast and say hello so I know you're here. And the whole purpose of this is to talk to you a little bit about what I did and tell you my story of being a pessimist. I was always an optimist, but I couldn't find how to get into that positive mindset when I needed it the most. You know, it's easy to get into a positive mindset when things are going the way that I want them to go. But when things were not going well for me, excuse me, then when things were not going well for me and my business was failing and I was on the edge of bankruptcy, I was on the sofa in despair and fear. And I did not have a very optimistic view of myself, the world in any way. I was in fear. That's the way I was. That's the mindset I was in. That's the way I felt. And there was no way in the world I was going to just snap out of it and pretend to be in a positive mindset, because I wasn't, and that's not the way out. You can't kind of spiritually bypass the dark stuff. And as a coach that falls largely into using shadow work, the skills of a shadow work facilitator, to look at our shadows, those are the parts of ourselves we hide, repress, and deny. They are the shadow of the light, and they're always negative. It's trying to protect, it's our ego trying to protect us from harm in the future, or its perception of harm. So when we're in despair and we're feeling bad, it's because we've engaged that lower realm of consciousness, the ego, and we're somehow stuck in the drama triangle of being a victim of something or a rescuer. We're going to fix this problem for myself and others, or we're going to perpetrate others for making us this way. And we're often all three at the same time. We're just kind of running around the circle, running around that drama triangle from one base to the other. But we typically feel like we're a victim of the universe. Somehow we got dealt a wrong deck of cards. And so our perception, our view of the world is very negative. It's not optimistic. We don't have an optimistic view because we think everything in our past has been doom or gloom, and we're in despair and we don't have any money. And I remember when my business was failing back in 2017, and I was on the edge of bankruptcy, I was in total despair. And it seemed like everything I tried to do to bring in new clients, every strategy, everything I did Didn't work. It didn't work because I was trying to mask a deeper feeling of frustration and despair. I was trying to seem positive. I was trying to seem, but the more I tried to appear something other than what I was, the worse things got. Because you can't fool it. You can't, the truth, the heart knew the truth. The heart knew that I really wasn't doing what I wanted to do, really. That's the bottom line. But at the time, I didn't have that kind of insight. I was just mad because I couldn't make enough money to pay my bills. And I didn't, it's like the harder I worked at it, the more fear I felt, the more despair, and the more shame. Here I was, a wealth manager with this fancy office on Park Avenue, and couldn't manage his own money. So you can imagine the shame. Let me tell you something, I'm not the only one. There's a lot of wealth managers who feel the same way I do about stuff. I mean, they just got to, probably the imposter syndrome among successful wealth managers is as high there as anywhere else, because the more successful we are, the more that internal voices in our head telling us we're not good enough, smart enough, or whatever else it is to be where we are. And mine was loud and noisy, and really, and it seemed to be winning the battle for a long time. So, it runs on a negative mindset. The imposter syndrome, it operates on a negative mindset. So how do we get out of that negative mindset, even when we don't feel like it? Well, we have to have some courage. We have to have some courage to feel what we're feeling, number one. We can't deny that we're feeling shame, that we're feeling bad, that we're feeling angry, that we're feeling fear. That's the first thing. We have to, one, have the courage to accept and feel what it is we're feeling. We have to say, I'm feeling some fear. I'm really feeling shame. And get intimate with yourself. Get honest, brutally honest with yourself as to what you're feeling. Start with your feelings. Don't push them away. Don't pretend to be optimistic when you're not, because you can't be. It's impossible. You're feeling what you're feeling. And the best way to transform a feeling from a negative feeling to a positive feeling is to feel it. And then ask yourself, what's causing this feeling? Why am I feeling this way? Why am I feeling shame? And then what's the story? And then look behind, what's the story? I'm feeling shame because I don't seem to know how to make enough money to pay my bills. And I'm running my business in the ground. And it makes me feel shame. And if you really look inside yourself, what is the real story you're telling yourself? What is the shadow's belief that you have about yourself? We all have a shadow, and our shadow has a mission. It has a belief. It has it's created a whole structure out there, a whole world for you to live in that's negative, pessimistic, and quite frankly, miserable, because it's protecting you from the world. And no one wants to be protected from what? It's protecting you from life. Don't do this, don't do that. You might get hurt. You might get this. You might lose money. Blah, blah, blah. That's the shadow. That's the shadow speaking, and it's always running some type of strategy to protect its big lie about you that it makes up about you, that you make up about yourself. The shadow's always making up some version of a lie around I'm not enough. Hey, Mindy, how are you doing today? Good to see you here. Glad you're back. How are things in Vermont today? We're talking about how to be an optimist, even when you don't feel like an optimist. How do you transform those feelings of shame and despair into feelings of joy and enthusiasm, so you can enjoy your life, and you can build your business, and you can go when you don't feel like it? Well, first of all, is don't deny how you're feeling. If you're not feeling like it, maybe you need to take some space off, take a day off, and reflect and find out what you're doing. Maybe that's the universe trying to tell you. I mean, for me, I was in a career, in a business that it wasn't serving me. It wasn't serving me. I wasn't serving the planet. So that's why that's the bigger picture. And by stepping into that today, I'm doing what I love. I'm making money doing what I love, and that whole story I made up about myself not being smart and good enough was all a big lie. But it wasn't what I need. I needed to go through that process. So if you want to become an optimist, number one, feel the negative feelings that don't come with being an optimist. Don't push them away. Don't pretend to be an optimist. Don't fake it till you make it. I hate that phrase. Hone it till you own it. Becoming an optimist is a skill you have to master. You have to cultivate a prosperity mindset. You have to cultivate a positive mindset, because the ego is always on the negative. You're never going to get rid of that. You're never going to quit having fear. Your ego is never going to stop attacking you and telling you you're stupid, smart. Every time something comes, learning, I got some new software over the weekend. It was harder to do than I thought, and you're too stupid to learn. It was frustrating for a day. The next day, I put some space around it. I said, this is feeling frustrating. I stepped away, came back the next day, and did it. It wasn't all that hard, really, but I didn't learn it like that. I had to spend a little time, watch some videos, and see how it worked, and then I figured it all out. But we all go through that. But when I first started trying, I went into all kind of fear and doubt and despair. I'm too stupid to learn this thing. I can't do it. La 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 la. Okay, well, how's it making me feel terrible? Making me feel stupid, shame. So I stepped away for a while. I felt what I was thinking. I asked myself, "Are you really too stupid?" No, I can learn about anything, really. And I went back to it the next day, and I figured it out, and I did it. Because I went from having a pessimistic attitude, because that's how I felt. I felt pessimistic. That was the truth. But that was just that moment in time. And then when I finished the project, I felt pretty good about myself. Cultivate thinking about the word. Earlier this morning, after hearing you use it a handful of times, yes, it feels like an opening word, strong and love. Cultivating, yes. That's what I mean, is in part of my mission and part of my statement is I want to help people, help my clients and business owners cultivate a prosperity mindset, cultivate a positive mindset, because it requires cultivation. You can't just do it but you know what it needs? It needs the negativity to grow. It needs that energy. It needs the yin and the yang. It needs that shadow to be kind of like those forces to kind of push us into growth, push us outside our comfort zone. It's comfortable sometimes to be in misery because we don't have to take responsibility for our lives. How many people do you know that are always sick and depressed and life is terrible? And we don't care what's going on. Their life is terrible because they're just pessimistic. Well, that's because they've chosen to be that way, really. And there's nothing I can do to help that. And that's not people I work with. But if you're tired of being a pessimist, if you're tired of being in despair and seeing the world from a place of fear and doubt and scarcity and not enough, which is a pretty miserable way to live because I lived there for so many years, then you need to think about how do we cultivate a prosperity mindset or a positive mindset. And the best way to do that is through meditation and contemplative prayer. Because the heart, we go into heart space when we meditate and go into contemplative prayer. The reason why I call my company Financial Heart Space is so that we can grow and build our companies. We can take the path of the heart to make money. That's very simple. When we take the path of the heart to make money, money is abundant. Money is prosperous. If we take the path of the ego to make money, it's going to be pretty miserable. You might make a lot of money, but you're not going to have much fun doing it. I mean, you just look at some people out there who've made a lot of money doing some pretty unshady things. And they don't look very happy to me. I don't know about you, but I don't think the ex-president was a very happy, enthusiastic, and joyful human being, full of love and excitement. I mean, that wasn't my experience of him. Maybe some other people did, but that wasn't my experience of him. And so he might, I think he was clearly on the path of his meeting his own needs, creating wealth for yourself. That's the path of the ego. That is not the prosperity. That's not a prosperity mindset. That's a scarcity mindset, because you're trying to hoard and make enough money to take care of your own personal little narcissistic needs. Well, that's not how money or wealth is created. If you want to create, and most people come into and become entrepreneurs and become business owners because they have something of value. They have something they want to bring to the world, to make a contribution, to add value, to make the world a better place for people to live in, including themselves. So the way we make money is through service to others. And as coaches, we make money in serving and coaching our clients to make those transformational shifts from being in places of fear and doubt and scarcity to being in love, joy, and prosperity. That's what I do. That's what we do, is we help people. We help people take the journey we've taken. I can't take you on somebody else's journey, to weight loss, for example, because I haven't been on that journey. But I have certainly been on the journey where I have been in a place of just utter despair and failure and shame, to now where I live a life of doing what I love to do, make money, and I'm clear about what I'm here to do, and I'm clear about how I'm going to do it, and I just let go and go do it, and let Joy the Wise Woman run my life, which she's always done anyway. But I just was in resistance in the past. Well, it's so great for you to be watching me. Thank you, Richard, for tapping in today. We're talking about how do we cultivate an optimistic, how do we become an optimist, particularly in a world when sometimes we, like the last year during the pandemic, many of us didn't feel very optimistic about the future. We went into a lot of despair, particularly if you're someone who was sick, or you lost a loved one, or someone who was sick and you couldn't see them. There was a sense of despair and loss. And those feelings were good. It's hard to be an optimist and all that. But it takes courage. Courage is the number one skill that we all need to cultivate to get us through challenging times, no matter what they are. It takes courage to see the truth that we don't control anything. We control nothing. We don't know anything either. The ego loves to control our lives, and it loves to know stuff. And the fact of the matter is, we human beings by ourselves can't do any of it. We don't control a thing. I don't control who hires me or doesn't hire me. I don't control what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow. But I can make a choice in how I show up and how I respond to how I'm feeling. And I can have the courage to challenge things that are not true, like not being good enough, not being smart enough. I can have the courage to challenge the negative thinking of my shadow. And that's what this is about. It's always about that. It's not all that complicated. If you're struggling, if you're in despair, it's because you somehow bought into your shadow's belief of being somehow unworthy of life. And you're being punished, and you're being a victim of the world, in some form or version of that. Like everybody else has it, but not me. That's a pessimistic way of looking at the world, isn't it? So the reason we came here during the pandemic was to get us out of the drama. So how do we get out of the negative, and how do we get into we get out of the drama. We get out of the drama triangle. We transcend the limitations of the drama triangle that got us into that space in the first place. The ego and the shadow, they love to create drama, even when they don't even need it. Just see how quickly you can, if you're not careful, how quickly you can go onto Facebook or the news and you get pulled right into some drama that you can't do one thing about. But you'll get pulled in and you'll throw a shoe at the television. The guy is going to happen. That's okay. You can express your feelings. But how do you want to run your life, and how do you want to live your life? Do you want to live your life in the drama triangle? Do you want to run you can't run a business from the drama triangle. Absolutely impossible. If you're going to be a successful entrepreneur, and you're going to be a successful business owner or a business leader, or just a person in your family, a successful father, you got to cultivate a positive mindset. And you got to have the fear, you got to have the courage to challenge those fear-driven beliefs of the egoic mind. Because they can be very, very, very convincing sometimes. We've all been there. We've all been in that place of despair. But then, once we go into some heart space, we're going to do that in a few minutes now. Once we go into some heart space and we surrender all that drama, all those beliefs about the drama, the beliefs we made up about people, all that story we made up that's got us sitting in this place of pessimism. We're in pessimism because our worldview is we're in a drama triangle. We're in some kind of drama loop that's making us feel bad about ourselves and other people. So how do you get off the drama triangle? How do you transcend it? You never get beyond those fear-driven human parts. Those are what ground us to reality. But you can transcend them with a little bit of courage to inquire, is it true? A very simple question to ask yourself. When you dig it all down and you find yourself in despair, feeling shame, you have to ask, why am I feeling this shame? I'm feeling shame because I'm a financial advisor, and I'm too stupid to know how to make enough money, and I'm embarrassed and feel shame because I'm a financial wealth manager, and I'm broke. And the next thing is, I don't know how to fix it. I created this problem. It's making me feel bad. It's making me feel shame. And I don't know how to fix it. So I was honest with myself, wasn't I? I claimed responsibility for creating the problem. I could identify what the problem was. And then I said, it's too big for me. I don't know how to do it. So I had the courage to claim it, identify it, and had the courage to say, I don't know how to fix this. I need some help. I need help from a higher power. Call it God, call it the universe, call it love, call it whatever reality as it is. I think what Byron Katie calls it. It doesn't matter what you call that channel that you open up to your higher self. It's not some God out there. It's that divine presence in you. It's that power in you that can do anything, that can create anything. That's what optimism is. Optimism is found in the heart of our creative genius. That's how we cultivate one. By letting go of the old lie, the old story. I often will ask my clients, who would you be without that story you just told me? They said, what do you mean? I said, well, you just told me this great big story. What if you didn't have that story? What if you just didn't have a story at all? Who would you be? Well, I don't know. Well, that's what you need to find out. Who would you be without your story? Well, I know I'm a magnificent, loving miracle of a human being that loves to share and give and produce and create. That's my nature. And I'm a queer man, and I have a queer nature. And there's something about that and my attraction to my own sex, and that creative energy and inspiration that comes up. I used to feel shame about that, but that's who I am. And I have the courage to own that part of myself. Not only to own it, but to embrace it and celebrate it. Courage. Courage to know the truth about who you are. I have a friend who's a gay man who's still married to a woman, and he's lying to his wife and family. He's miserable. You can't live your life in a lie. You carry that energy with you all the time. I couldn't live my life as alive trying to be well because it wasn't my job. It wasn't my calling. And I was okay at it. I made some money at it for a while, but I wouldn't, it wasn't all that exciting for me, if I was honest with it. It was like work. It was too hard. What I'm doing now as a coach is fun. I'm making a difference and people want me to come help them. Yeah, because that is the optimism found in the heart of our creative genius. Well, the heart space is that organ within us that brings in the oxygen and the blood. It's more than that. It's also the center of life. It's the center of all creation. And when we're tapped into that, we feel it. Like, I think we talked one time about making a salad. When you're tapped in, you were talking about a tomato one. All of a sudden, the tomato takes on a whole new. You think, God, I want to make the best tasting salad in the world. Because I got this beautiful, vibrant tomato, this wonderful lettuce. And let's just say you're going into the kitchen and you're hungry. And you don't really see a whole lot in there because you need to go to the grocery store. So you kind of get this optimistic about your dinner. And then you say, well, you know what? Let me see what I have. Let me open up my heart. Let me see what I've got here. Let me get creative. And all of a sudden you find maybe an old package of frozen lobster. Little lobster tail. I got some in the freezer now. A little bag of frozen lobster tails. Little small ones, little Agostinos. Just about enough to make a lobster salad for a couple of lobster rolls. So you pull out those and you thaw them out. And you find some more hot dog buns in your freezer. Put a little butter on those and you toast them. And you get some mayonnaise. You thaw out the little Agostinos, the little lobster pieces, and thaw them out. And you add a little mayonnaise, a little lemon, a little celery, and some salt and pepper, and create yourself a little lobster salad. Toast up those little hot dog buns, and all of a sudden you have created a delicious lunch. You've gone from being pessimistic about what you're going to eat to just nosing around in your refrigerator and finding some things and getting creative, and all of a sudden you have a new optimistic attitude. I can tell you, as soon as I found those, I did this the other day, by the way. As soon as I found those little lobster tails, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to make myself a little lobster salad. And I went immediately from being, oh, what am I going to eat? I guess I'll just heat up an old can of soup again, and I'll just be, or I said, no, I want to have a nice lunch. I'm going to find something here to eat. That's what I mean by that. Does that help make some sense? It's a choice. I could have heated up a can of soup, and I could have done, and I probably would have enjoyed the soup because I do that too. I enjoy it. But that was my example about shifting from pessimism to optimism. And I know, and I do it every morning because I don't wake up in the morning. I always wake up in the morning in a bad attitude. We'll just call it. I wake up in really what Ken Wilber calls the gross. I wake up in my body, and I'm kind of pessimistic about the day. I don't really know what I'm supposed to be doing. I didn't accomplish everything I wanted to. I mean, my ego in the morning when I first open my eyes is typically kind of attacking. It's negative. And as soon as I get up and have a cup of coffee, get my coffee and go sit on the porch and watch the sun come up and open my heart to the truth, the miracle of life itself, and some gratitude, everything shifts. And all of a sudden I have this very optimistic view of the world. Very optimistic world. Yeah, let me see what I have. Let me see what I have to be grateful for. And let me open my heart with gratitude to that. And that's exactly what I'm saying. Great. That's exactly what we're talking about. Let me see what we have. and let me open my heart to accepting it, enjoying it. Instead of like, let me see what I don't have, so I can continue to be negative, or I can see, let me see what I have, and let's see what we can do today. It's good. Yeah. So we're gonna meditate together, get into a little heart space. This is when I lose people because somebody wants to meditate. But I was listening to Ray before we start. I was listening to Ray Dalio talking about principles, and he, one of the wealthiest men in the world, created a huge hedge fund. He meditates, started, and he will tell you right up front he meditated back in the '60s because he learned from the Beatles that they had learned transcendental meditation, so he wouldn't learn transcendental. And he'll tell you in a heartbeat that he could not be anywhere where he is without a meditation practice. So if you are trying to be successful as an entrepreneur or a business leader and you're not meditating, good luck. Good luck. You'll get to some level of success on a material plane. But if you want to get to a level of success that's really fulfilling, you got to meditate. You got to get to know that inner part of yourself. That's all there is to it. This is how we're going to do it. We're going to do it through conscious breathing. We're just going to slow down the thinking by breathing. You can't stop thinking because that's what the brain does. But we can, with intention, slow it down and put some space in there. You can slow it down and put some space. And one of the ways to do that is by relaxing the tongue, becoming conscious of the tongue. Because when we think, our tongue vibrates. So one way to slow down the thinking is to slow down the vibration of the tongue by massaging the tongue with the breath. So I become conscious in my meditation of doing that by putting the tip of my tongue on the roof of my mouth, just behind my two front teeth, relaxing my jaw and parting my lips slightly so I can breathe in through my mouth and through my nose, like this. So just breathe and just begin to consciously have the mind think about using the breath as it's going in and out to gently massage and relax your tongue. And just notice what happens. And this is a natural state you want to be in when you're meditating. Just the natural rise and fall of the breath. With your belly muscles, begin to pull the breath deep into your belly as an anchor. Pulling the breath, following the breath through the nostrils, through the mouth. Massaging your tongue. Opening and expanding the heart, space around your heart. No tension. Love expands. Fear contracts. So notice any places of contraction in your body. Maybe it's your forehead. Like I just noticed my forehead was contracting. And consciously let it go. And with the belly, we're going to do 3 belly breaths. And then I'm going to be silent, and we're going to do out the meditation, except for some interval bells that will wake us up so that we can reset and fall back into the spaciousness and infinite love. So with the belly, pull the breath in through the mouth and the nose. Massage the tongue, open the heart space, bring it down the throat, and pull it deep into your belly and anchor it in the chair. Ready? Pull it in. Use the muscles to pull it in deeper. Hold it in a little deeper. Now let it all go. Hold on to nothing. And as you let the breath go, let go of any thoughts, any feelings, any beliefs, any judgments, any stories that are going on in your head. Just release them. Just let them go. They're just energy forms. Just let them go. And go back to the breath, massaging the tongue, anchoring it in the belly. And just be still for a moment. And then we're going to do another belly breath to clear up the channels, clear up the energy from the head to the base of the spine, to the sit muscles. Just bring in the breath with your belly muscles. Use them to pull it in, massage the tongue, expand the heart, really expand the rib cage and the belly. Create as much space as you can. Hold it, pull on a little bit more and hold it. Let it all go. And let go of any remaining thoughts, opinions, or judgments you have about me, yourself, this world, this show, whatever is happening. Just love and accept it all. Notice any feelings you have right now. Don't resist them. Just feel them. And allow the sound of that bell to the vibration, just to take you a little bit more deeper. Feel your way more deeply inside yourself by letting go of any thoughts. And just let them go. We're going to do one more belly breath, and then we're going to be silent for the rest of the meditation, except for the interval bells. Ready? Pull the breath in through the nose and the mouth by using the belly muscles. Open up the heart, open up the rib cage, expand the belly, and pull that breath deep into your belly. Deep into, now just soften everything. And fall back into that lovely cloud of not knowing. Oh, there's a sweet sound of that interval bell to wake us up from our sleeping, our thinking, our storytelling, our worrying, our plotting. And the invitation is just to thank that brilliant mind for all its work and let it go. Surrender it and allow yourself to fall back into infinite love. There's that wonderful wake-up bell to wake us up out of our sleeping, our thinking, our planning, our worrying, and just let it go and allow yourself to fall back into infinite love. And there's our final bell to bring us out of our meditation, bring us back into this space together. How are you feeling? I'm grateful for the space I created. Did I stop thinking? No. Did I have some problems to solve? Yes. But I slowed down long enough to empower myself to now solve them. I can say that I'm sitting in a place of optimism. I'm sitting in a place of excitement about the rest of my day, possibilities, the opportunities that I have to serve, make a difference in the world. I've got a whole afternoon planned of meetings and appointments of people that want my help, want me to help them. That feels good. So I'm optimistic about my business. You know, coming from my heart. And I remember you asked me, Mindy, about that creative genius. We think the creative genius is something special. The creative genius is the part of us that can make a salad from the heart, bake a cake, garden, No other animal can do that. A banana might be able to peel a banana to get to the meat, but I've yet to meet a monkey knows how to make a good banana pudding. That's the creative genius in us that comes alive. Our ability to create a salad, to create a program, to create a day's activity. It could be a day of leisure or a day of work, but we create them. And when we create them from the heart space, it's going to be fun. It's going to feel good. It's going to be enthusiastic. And if we have to do things that we don't find fun and enthusiastic, we can accept doing because we know it serves a bigger purpose than just ourselves. It serves a higher calling. And that's a wonderful way. That's a very wonderful, positive, optimistic way of looking at the world. But it takes cultivation. It took me cultivation. And so if you're willing to spend a little time loving yourself, really, it's really cultivating love. It's really cultivating a practice of self-love. Getting to know and love yourself, those intimate parts of yourself, even those parts you don't like, the shadow. That's the journey. Thank you for being on it with me today as we went inside ourselves to explore and open up some heart space, set ourselves and empower ourselves to go about the day. As always, it's a pleasure. I will not be here on Wednesday. I have another engagement on Wednesdays. I do a live workshop on Wednesdays. I'm doing a workshop right now in my Facebook group, Financial Heart Space for gay, transgender, and bisexual men. Yes, that is the best gift we can give ourselves. That was the primary teaching of the wisdom teacher that I follow, which is Jesus, is to love. Love you, God, with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself. And he wasn't talking about some God. He was talking about life. He's talking about your life. Love your life, your divine nature, and love your neighbor and love their divine nature. Maybe if you're gay, your queer nature. It's all about loving that your authentic self, whatever that is, whatever feels right for you in this world. To embrace that, get to know that, and love that part of yourself. So tomorrow, I'm back to my conversation. Tomorrow, I'm going to be offering I do a live workshop inside that Facebook group every Wednesday at 1 Eastern Daylight Time. The workshop I'm doing now is around my new workbook that I've created. I have a process called the heart space method for problem solving. It's based on the 12 steps of recovery and of owning it, accepting it, and surrendering it. And I'm going to be teaching that workshop, that workbook tomorrow. So if you're gay, bi, or trans, and you got a problem you want to solve, bring your problem. Join me tomorrow in our Facebook group at 1:00, and I'll teach you I'll show you how to use this process and the workbook. I'll give you a free copy of the workbook in order so you can solve your problem. You can use it to solve any problem. I mean, it's the same process that millions have used to solve their alcohol problem. Doesn't matter what problem. I used it to solve my money problem years ago. It doesn't matter what the problem is. It's usually the problem is always rooted in narcissistic need, and it will solve the problem every time if you follow the principles. And I'll teach you exactly how to do that in the Facebook group for gay, transgender, and bisexual men tomorrow at 1:00. Not everybody's, but I'm also I do that for a reason, because that's the tribe that I can work most closely with. We're dealing with some of our internal issues. But I also have another Facebook group that I want to invite you to. It's called the Financial Mystic Sanctuary. And that is a Facebook group open for anybody. It's a private for doing this work. And I often broadcast this show from there as well. And on the 15th of May, on Saturday, I'm going to do a live workshop on on problem solving, how to use the workshop. And anybody can join there, regardless of your sexual orientation or your gender identity. And we'd love to have you. And that's going to be at, I believe it's going to be 1:00 Eastern Daylight Time on Saturday, May 15th. So stay tuned for that. And again, that is going to be in the Financial Mystics Sanctuary Facebook group, which is open to everyone, and anyone's invited to join us there. Okay? So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being here today. And I hope I was some help, give you some service, and help you show you how to live an optimistic lifestyle. It's not, it is a style. It's a cultivated style of living. It's a way of living from a place of truth and honesty and vigorous courage and resilience. So thank you for listening. May love and prosperity prevail.